Alors, pour mes collègues du Québec, des conseils scolaires francophones, bienvenue. Les sessions hier, aujourd'hui, demain, c'est certainement en anglais, mais tous nos programmes, toutes nos campagnes. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here at our 17th annual CLC. So congratulations and thank you. Yeah, a few hands. Well, we saw that in the audience. But it's a terrific opportunity for us to get together as a community in the education space to network, to share stories, to challenge each other, to challenge Microsoft and for us to challenge yourselves, and for each other to interact because we're all here in the best interests of education.
We are super fortunate to have two individuals here with us today. We have a second speaker today, and Hannah is another incredible young person. Hannah, come on up to the stage. I met Hannah and Shagan as part of the original group, and we asked them to engage with us. Hannah is addressing a really, really interesting proposition that, frankly, I think has impact for us all. So, Hannah, do you want to take it away? Go ahead.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction. So, when I was 17, I received this phone call from my mom in Vietnam announcing that my grandma recently passed away from cancer. But what astonished me even more was that it has been 10 years since she was first diagnosed with this disease. And as much as I hoped as a kid that something would happen, nothing really happened at all. And if you just turn back the clock, it's actually been 2,000 years since cancer is first discovered. But then humanity hasn't been able to find a cure for it yet. So my instant shock prompted me to look at the bigger picture, where 1 in 2 Canadians is actually diagnosed with some form of cancer within their lifetime. That means half of you sitting in this room today may have the chance of getting cancer at some point in your life. And that's absolutely crazy, scary, and dangerous at the same time. Because cancer has been around for so long, but we haven't been able to cure it yet, I decided to look at this problem from another approach. It has been discovered that aging is actually the main risk factor for cancer itself. So what if instead of treating cancer, we treat aging itself? What if under each and every single cell of our body, there's a genetic regulatory network that once we intervene with them can help us reverse aging and prolong the lifespan of our organism? Because the truth is, don't we all want to live longer? I was super fascinated by this question, and I decided to dive deeper into the human genome. The human genome is essentially the cookbook of our life. It contains 3 billion letters, or nucleotides, A, T, C, G, organized in different orders and combinations, giving rise to you and me. Now, I may be 5'4", whereas Michael Jordan may be 6'8", because he has a different combinations of genes. And unfortunately, some people may have a higher risk factor for cancer or diseases like Huntington's disease than other people. That is really unfortunate. So now you might be thinking, because the genome is buried so deep in the cell, there's no possible way for us to intervene with it. But some very smart people like Jennifer Doudna at UC Berkeley and Feng Zhang at MIT have discovered a tool called CRISPR. CRISPR stands for Cluster Regularly Interspaced Palindromic Repeats, and essentially it is the editor of the human genome. It consists of 2 parts. One is a Cas protein, and another one is a guide RNA. The guide RNA is like the detective of our cell. It searches for specific sequences of the DNA that we want to target, and once it has found its match, the Cas protein will come there and induce the double-stranded cuts. This is absolutely crazy, because CRISPR allows us the freedom, the democracy, to manipulate the human genome at the degree that we have never experienced before in the past. Even though other gene editing tools have existed for 50 years, CRISPR is proven to be more efficient and more optimal than any previous tool we've had in the human history. So I decided to combine CRISPR, which is this amazing tool, with my aging problem. In April 2018, I joined the Westwood Lab, and what I have learned is that The animal cell only has a certain amount of energy, dedicated to two main resources, stress resistance and growth promotion. So if you have more energy for growth promotion, you can have less energy for stress resistance and vice versa. But the reality is that what really contributes to helping the organism to live longer is actually stress resistance. So the question I asked myself was, how could I possibly decrease the cell's ability to promote growth and shift the cell to have more ability to promote stress? There are two ways I do so. There's something pretty interesting in our cell called the adaptive hormone receptor. And what this protein does is that it takes in insulin and nutrients within our cell. So by using CRISPR to deregulate or to express the adaptive hormone receptor less, I was able to shift the cell's physiology from growth promotion to stress resistance. Secondly, I used CRISPR to mutate a gene called the RLE1 gene. And the RLE1 gene is able to shut down something called heat shock proteins. And heat shock proteins is what actually allows the cell to live longer. So by turning off the RLE1 gene, I was able to double the lifespan of fruit flies. But there's another problem. As our body ages, it literally deteriorates. The problem is because as our immune system becomes weaker, the bacteria that attack us actually becomes much stronger. In fact, if we continue using antibiotics, 10 million people worldwide will die because of these superbugs by 2050. And that is even more than all types of cancer combined. So what if there's something magical? What if there's a magical pill that can help us overcome this problem? Scientists at the University of Madison, Wisconsin actually discovered the CRISPR pill. And the CRISPR pill essentially integrates probiotics with CRISPR, and once you have strengthened in your body, it will release a virus that is not infectious, and then it will seek for the bacteria and to kill the bacteria, which will allow us a precision to kill bacteria that we've never experienced before. Next, cancer. A lot of scientists, both in the United States and China especially, have used CRISPR to mutate the cytotoxic T cell and by intervening with the PD-L1 gene. And what this does is that it allows cytotoxic T cell to become stronger and better find and attack cancer. Now we can see a lot of amazing applications of CRISPR, from curing cancer, reversing aging, and helping us combat with the antibacterial crisis worldwide. So why haven't we seen the products in the market yet? I was really baffled by this question, and as I looked deeper into it, I realized CRISPR has something called the off-target effects. And what the off-target effects refer to is when the CRISPR system cuts the wrong part of the gene. Here's how it works. The guide RNA has 20 nucleotides, and it is supposedly need to match with 20 nucleotides on our target sequence of DNA. However, the reality is it only needs to match with 10 for the Cas protein to actually cut the DNA. Think of it as the lock and key model. The guide RNA has 20 keys, but it only needs to match with 10 locks in order for the Cas protein to cut. What this means is that for example, if you want to use CRISPR to turn off a gene for HIV, it can accidentally turn on a gene that causes cancer because of this off-target effect. So I can help humanity live longer if this is a problem. So I decided to find a way to solve the problem. So how I did this was that I was really lucky to have the guidance of Professor Davidson at the University of Toronto, and I joined his lab and we worked on something called the anti-CRISPR proteins. So I visited some postgraduate students and we looked deeper into this problem. And how the anti-CRISPR protein works is that the virus produces this protein, and once you release the virus into the system that has CRISPR, the protein will bind with the Cas protein. And since the formation of this Cas and Cas protein has changed, it is no longer able to induce the double-stranded cuts. So say you want to use CRISPR to cure Duchenne muscular dystrophy in mice, which is something Dr. Ronan called the kids. You can also deliver anti-CRISPR in a timely manner so that the CRISPR system will be shut down in time. Something really interesting that Microsoft has also been working on is called guide design. And they have a software called Elevation that uses a 2-layer regression machine learning model to filter through 3 billion letters of the human genome, assign a score to each potential off-target site, and eventually aggregate all of these scores to derive a score that gives us the ranking of the most optimal guide design. Not only is genetic engineering so powerful, if we merge it with other technology like artificial intelligence, it can give us a degree of freedom and democracy we've never had before. For example, I recently met with the CEO of Deep Genomics, Brandon Free, and what they're doing is that they're using deep learning models to find the most optimal pathway to target for a specific drug or disease. What this means is that we no longer have to spend 10 to 50 years testing drugs in the lab one by one and potentially failing during the way, wasting billions of dollars. We can now merge deep learning and genetic engineering to find the most optimal pathway for our specific drug. Also, since 1990s, the cost of sequencing the human genome has decreased exponentially from $2 billion, where only Bill Gates can buy, to only $100 today, which I'm pretty sure all of us can actually purchase it ourselves and to learn more about our human genome. What this means is that by 2050, the amount of human genome and the data we get from it can be more than the amount of text and images combined. So the question becomes, how can we actually leverage all of these data? The answer might lie in quantum computing. A quantum computer is a supercomputer that has an exponentially higher processing power, and it can solve problems simultaneously instead of going through them one by one. So you can see that if we merge quantum computing with deep learning as well as genetic engineering, we are able to find solutions to problems at an exponentially faster rate. Finally, nanotechnology. Scientists have been working on something called DNA origami, which can encapsulate the CRISPR system and deliver it to specific tissue types in our body. This provides us a non-invasive way to cure specific disease. And this is personally one of the applications that I'm really interested about. Microsoft has been the leader in some of these fields from AI, quantum computing, to nanotechnology. And I believe that together, we can transform the future and make it even better than it has ever been. Thank you.
Did you have fun? Yeah. All right. Oh, I didn't ask you the question. What'd you think? Yeah? So, Hannah, number one, how old are you?
I just turned 18.
You just turned 18. Oh, so you're like an adult now.
Yes.
Yeah. And how long have you been dabbling in CRISPR and nanotechnology and other aspects of machine learning and AI?
Yeah, about 4 months.
How long?
4 months.
4 months?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. There you go. Peter, step it up. So that's pretty cool. So just Anna, I'm going to put you on the spot. And sorry, Chuck. You came into Microsoft and your team, and I asked you guys the question of what would you do if you were the president of Microsoft Canada? And do you remember what you said, or what would you do?
Yeah, I think because I've grown a bit ever since, my
Yeah.
answer may be a little bit different.
Yeah, because that was like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
It's actually less than that.
Yeah, but I truly believe that in order to transform our future, we really need to invest in technology, and
Right.
especially those skills in our children. So I don't know if you know, but I was originally from Vietnam, and then there was so little resources there that I decided to move here by myself when I was 16. But as soon as I entered the education system, I was really not happy because I didn't learn the things that I truly wanted to learn. I didn't have the access to the research that I wanted to investigate in when I was in Vietnam. And I remember that one day I went to my guidance counselor and I was like, hey, I kind of want to reverse aging and use genetic engineering. And then my counselor was like, no, you need to wait till you're a master's student or a PhD. And I think one of the problems that we as people who educate approach is that we always set age as one of the barriers. But then I don't think age is a barrier. What if just imagine the possibility if we do not set age as a barrier and the things that people can accomplish if we empower them in that way. If we tell them that if you want to go to Mars, you can look into aerospace. Then we will have at least 1 million more kids who nurture their passion of going to Mars. And maybe humanity can even go to Mars much earlier, because right now, how many people are working on it? Well, NASA and Elon Musk, but he just stepped down as a CEO. So I don't know. But I really do think that if we all work on this together and we don't use age as one of the barriers, then we can truly make things that are unimaginable to us in the past. Because this is one of the questions we ask every single person. What are you going to do in the next 5 or 10 years? Well, I don't really know. Because I think the thing I do needs to be unimaginable to me today in order for it to be significant for the rest of us.
I love that. Fantastic. There you go. Thank you, Hannah. Thank you. Wow. Let's not be bounded by convention. I think that idea of us defining what we think our children should learn and what the capability of our children is to learn are two very, very different things, exemplified by those two individuals. So as I mentioned, at the front end of both Hannah and Shuggen, when we look at what they've done and what they just demonstrated, that was all self-learning. They sought out the resources and they learned. Not every child's going to do that. And there's a combination here of great students plus exceptional teachers plus technology really driving innovation. And that's why we are so invested in the space and why each of you is here over the next 2 days.